Well, here we are again. JWC Livestream. This episode is just Ricky. Sometimes that happens. As you can see by my background, this is going to be a Babyltron read. If you dig this story, like if you listen to this read and you want to hear it, just look for this background on whatever thumbnail, like go to our YouTube channel, JWC's YouTube channel, and you can hear the whole thing. I mean, this will be chapter 5 today. This is a dystopian cyberpunk book called Babyltron, After the Fire. This is chapter 5, called, the chapter is called As If He Were a Hero. Big Daddy helped Dawn out of the boat sometime just before daybreak. The pair strode briskly down the bulkhead, moving onto docks made of crumbling concrete with emergent rebar. They sought shelter among a cluster of vehicles, spotting behind them a busted door leading into a gatehouse. A more secure gateway was capped with a rusted plate door hinged outwardly. The inside was desolate, having only a table, dusty and smudged, with a single stuffed unicorn sitting in the center. They settled in when the coast was clear. Self-maintenance came first, including eating, bathing as best as possible with wet wipes, and then sleeping. Big Daddy felt relieved when Dawn finally fell asleep, listening to her snore in the depths of total exhaustion. What dreams waited for her in the aftermath of the escape from hell were not promising, but at least she didn't have to fear being devoured upon waking. Dee shaved using a puddle of water as a wind-quivered mirror. Then his eyes turned to regard the distance where a huge suspension bridge spanned the bay. They needed to cross that to get to the settlement. There was no other way. Taking the boat was out of the question, since headhunters and drones would see them cross and pop their skulls with high-speed lead. Big Daddy felt his heart fly up into his mouth as he beheld a small, childlike person come walking down the dockside to where he crouched. At first, he thought of the mutant children back in the rail yard and gripped his pistol with destructive intent. But a text quickly flashed over his optical field in protest. It's me, Big Daddy, don't shoot. It's me, Big Daddy, don't shoot. The child put up hands like a cartoon character, spasming into a twisted pretzel of contorted limbs. BD didn't know whether to be relieved or annoyed at Sinflake, but in that moment, he needed assistance badly. It would do nothing for his dilemma to get fresh with this AI. He had to get Dawn to the settlement. On his own, it would be a death-defying act, since the bridge was likely rigged with security drones, auto-turrets, and maybe even jelly dolls keeping a technological vigil. This was not the time for insolence. Big Daddy smirked at the red-eyed jelly doll that Sinflake possessed, getting to his feet in the doorway and crossing his arms in a gesture of feigned insecurity. He texted back with a sincere need for answers. I was wondering if you forgot about me. The road I took was only a little better than getting squished by that Millimek, but it's cool. I made a friend along the way. Then he told the tale to Sinflake, explaining about the mutant warlocks and saving Dawn from their sacrificial blades. He left nothing out, describing the sewer creature, the post-humans shambling for flesh, the giant, and even the imp horde chasing them to the boat. Sinflake listened quietly to every word, seemingly reassessing Big Daddy. I'm sorry that I lost track of you. The Millimek took out my favorite drone and I needed to get another one. Besides this, There was no booster for your cybernetic modem in that sewer, and so contact would have been interrupted regardless. Even so, I see you've made your way, and with someone in tow. Very impressive. Like when you went back for Meadow on the bridge, you were completely selfless. That is something I need to learn about. I don't understand that, about the cancellation of instinctual being for another organism. To willingly risk all for a body that is not bound to your genetics, it is very strange to me. Big Daddy shook his head as if he were talking to a child, knowing in terms of data, Sinflake was probably the oldest being he'd ever met. He replied to her long text as if he were an older brother trying to shrug off the mysteries of life. It's hard to explain sometimes, but a dude like me has to act instead of think. When I see someone in danger, I remember those who died on me, the ones who had no one to help them. I trade what I lost for what I might save. It's about saving people, Sinflake. If they are in danger, then you have to give them aid. Nature isn't just about taking. There must also be gift giving to match the intentions of what you wish had been given. It's stupid, and I feel its stupidity as I'm doing it. Yet I do the giving anyway. You're not a fool for trying. You're not a fool for doing good for people, even if they use you and it all comes to nothing. Intentions pave the road to hell and open the gates of heaven, so long as they are pure. I can't go home until I make sure Dawn has a home too. Otherwise, I lack peace. It's the peace I'm seeking. The idea that I haven't sold out to selfishness. That's all home really is. Nothing will kill that in me unless they kill my body, and let them come and try. Sinflake smiled at Big Daddy as if he were a hero. And then she turned her head slightly to look behind him. Big Daddy did likewise and saw Dawn standing by the blast door, a look of fear keeping her rashy face tight. He gestured that it was cool, inviting her to join him near the doorway. Dawn padded over to BD and stood in his shadow, beholding the red optics of the childish jelly doll with some trepidation. Big Daddy didn't blame her, since these things usually try to kill humans at first sight. He was only just getting used to it himself, although this did not factor into the big picture. Trusting anything rolled dice that could get you killed. Dawn wouldn't fully trust anything but Big Daddy anytime soon. She believed in him enough to accept Sinflake. At nightfall, they pushed on. The path felt clear for them. BD wondered if it were Sinflake's influence at work. Many drones were aloft in the misty heights, sweeping back and forth between the towering structure of the suspension bridge, where it vanished in the traveling overcast. They found a ladder that led up to the bridge's right of way. So it was a 600-foot climb to where the true danger waited. Dawn went first, Sinflake second, with Big Daddy bringing up the rear, hoping that the lamb wouldn't have a heart attack on the way up. It took forever, but at last they made it up to street level. Big Daddy looked down the bridge's length, expecting to meet terrible resistance the whole way. The scene was strangely quiet. Wreckage and busted vehicles lay twisted and warped all over the 4 lanes, and in the distance, something slowly drove toward them. Then the dam of evil broke, sending its flood washing down in a chaotic tide of red optics and rhythmically clicking feet. The jet black vehicle went from coasting in gear to revving at top speed, pulling up to within 10 feet of them, with all hatches thrown open. Sinflake spoke through the diminutive jelly doll, its voice a bubbly auto-tune that suggested a Retronautic 16-bit filter. Get in, I'm driving, hurry. They piled in, and the fresh smell of designer engineering greeted them like incense burning in the house of worship. Synflake didn't touch the wheel with her jelly hands, but rather took over the move-by-wire interface through a boosted wave network. Targeting computer began to fire anti-aircraft guns at aggro drones and jelly dolls alike. The butting of high-caliber rounds resonating through the rhino's thick armor. Dawn held Big Daddy's sleeve as explosions and slamming limbs clattered against their military shell's protective boundary. Wheels rolled over anything too slow to move out of their way or too stupid to see the writing on the wall. Synflake's new drone and a gunship she summoned hit the pursuing jelly dolls without mercy, taking out most of those who did not leap over the edge into free fall. Ahead of them stood a bipedal Millimech. Its tall frame began to waddle into a position behind an erected barrier of smashed trucks. Before it could target the Rhino, the drone and gunship harassed the Millimech's position. The Millimech's counterstrike consisted of rockets and plasma bolts, both of which failed to find the mark. Several suspension cables were struck, sending sparks raining down onto the road ahead. A loud bunching crunch of snapping metal and failing superstructure rocked the bridge, sending a tremor through the speeding vehicle as it roared past the Millimech, where it tried to hide from Synflake's sortie. Behind them, a huge cable came loose and smashed into one of the obscured towers, swatting mist into a dusted cloud of shattering cement. Hunks came down to obstruct the way back, and so it became a one-way trip for them in any case. A deep boom thundered through the area as the Millimech exploded brightly, having been compromised by the eventual kamikaze impact of Synflake's new drone. Its ruin was felt through the armored Rhino, causing Dawn to grip Big Daddy's sleeve more vigorously. The gunship could still be heard firing at targets on the bridge. Synflake turned to them with a smiling face and sent BD texts and pics of what she was destroying out there. The bridge is old and has been compromised. Good thing we got this far, since I don't think anyone else is going to be able to use this crossing. It's sort of miraculous that it lasted this long, if you ask me. One of the last ones left from before the fire. The Rhino's dashboard had several displays and an augmented field embedded in the windscreen. Big Daddy leaned forward and looked through the candy blue data gauges, networking into it through his cybernetic modem. They drew near the other end of the bridge, seeming to be relatively unobstructed, something that BD thought was odd. His optical field supplied a progress update, which transposed itself virtually as an overview. Beyond the bridge lay a bottleneck, the whole way shrinking down to a single metal gateway big enough for the Rhino. They drove up to this gateway, being covered by Synflake's gunship and the Rhino's anti-aircraft guns. The latter pointed back the way they came. The hatch opened and Synflake exited the Rhino while sending a text to Big Daddy. You two stay put for a minute. I'm going to reason with the turnkey. We have a deal, he and I. The hatch closed and BD watched a live feed of Synflake's jelly doll body. The optical field of the childlike figure closed in to where a bridge met gate. Surveillance drone the size of a predatory bird flew over the barricade and circled Synflake's shell. Then the drone fixed its position, wavering in place right before the jelly doll. There seemed to be an exchange, culminating in several animated gestures from Synflake. Big Daddy assumed she was texting to someone or something, but had no access to that feed. A loud thud resonated through the Rhino, leading BD to believe that the gate would be opened. Synflake's shell made her way back to the Rhino, climbed through a self-opening hatch, As the hatch closed automatically, she got comfy and looked to Big Daddy, smiling as if they were all at a picnic. Okay, bridge guard is going to let us in. After that, it's just a quick ride to the settlement perimeter. I made a way for us, though I am not sure how friendly they will be once everyone sees that I'm a non-human. But we come bearing the deal, this rhino, the gunship, all to be donated for the defense of this place, if they will overlook my artificial being. Either way, we're getting Dawn in. Dawn smiled sheepishly at the jelly doll and then at Big Daddy, wondering if it would really be that easy. Luckily for her, it was. So that was Babyltron after the fire. Chapter 5, As If He Were a Hero. It's gonna be a short show today, folks. You know, sometimes that's how it goes. But every once in a while, it gives me the opportunity to read a chapter of Babyltron, which I really love that book. The cover of it, you can see behind me. Go to Amazon.com and type the name in, and the book should come up, either that or my author name. It would make a great Christmas present. If you like that read, check it out. And I appreciate it. This has been JWC Livestream. That's Joe's Writers Club Livestream. Head over to joeswritersclub.com, joeswriters.club. That's our forums. Check us out on social media and head over to our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. And check out all the chapters of Babyltron. That was chapter 5, so still got a lot more to go. It's fun reading it, you know. And thank you very much for listening. We'll see you real soon.